everyone!
So today we're going to be doing the mid-year book Freakout tag, which we also did last year.
So 2019 edition!
Ooh, exciting!
Oh, can I be any less enthusiastic? 2019 edition! There you go. So cute.
I'm going to preface this now by saying I totally cheated and picked more than one answer for some of these questions.
Gasp! How surprised am I?
Right?
I am the color, the very essence of surprised that you have chosen to cheat.
But before we get into that, I will mention that this tag was created by Chami like years ago.
And it's just picked up. I mean, you Google it now, it's everywhere.
Chami and Ellie, yes.
So thank you for creating this, and we're happy to join you.
So we're going to dive right in, and the first question is the best book you've read so far in 2019. I was almost going to say 2018 there. Haha, I totally cheated, but you can go first since you only have one.
Yeah, because that'll be easy. Six of Crows. Because Six of Crows. Because Leigh Bardugo and Kaz Brekker and Inej.
I really love that your voice just went like down.
Because it's my ship! And it sailed. I like when ships sail. We don't know if it's anchored or not. I mean, that's up for debate.
It's up for debate.
Highly recommended for anybody who loves a good heist to read about, not to partake, because we're not encouraging any kind of illegal activity. But for people who like to read about them, Six of Crows is set in a fantastical world where people have the capacity. Some people have the capacity to control like the forces of nature, and this is set in sort of like a commerce town, very Caribbean heart of the sea trade kind of deal, and it stars a tiny group of mercenaries who decide to steal something very, very important with such memorable characters. And so it's about the heist, Fast and the Furious, The Italian Job, Firefly, all of those things where you've got a crew that solemnly swears they're up to no good. And if they get it right, this could set them for life.
Yeah.
And that's why it's worth it. The characters are great. I would recommend it to anybody who wants to try something. Plus, Leigh Bardugo is a genius.
She really is.
I love her so very much.
I do too. Okay, I totally cheated, like I said.
Of course.
Surprise! To be fair, it's because I've read a ton of amazing books in the first half of the year because I've gotten pretty lucky.
So go for it.
Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This is the story of the son of the U.S. president. So he's the first son, and he and the Prince of England don't get along very well, and one day it becomes sort of like a media problem. And so in order to fix the media problem, they have to pretend to actually be friends and have this relationship. They become friends, and then something happens, and they become more, and it's great, it's wonderful. Definitely one of my favorite things I have read this year, just for the joy that it brought me as I was reading it.
Very much joy, very much love.
Complete opposite, because this book just made me emo while I was listening to it, because I actually listened to it as an audiobook first.
Ah, yes.
Lovely War by Julie Berry. So these are two love stories set against the backdrop of World War I and World War II, but they're actually being told by different Greek gods, most specifically Aphrodite, but there are a couple of others who join in the storytelling eventually. It is so well done. It is a very interesting way to tell a story that is set in a period that has a lot of fiction already centered around that period. So good. Would highly recommend. If you are an audiobook person, would definitely recommend checking that out. Kristen is going to be very excited that this book made it onto this category. The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I finally read it. It was so good. For a book that literally is Kvothe, the main character, telling a story for the duration of an entire day that is this massive. It was so compelling and so interesting, and I am already thinking about what's going to happen in the next book because I haven't read it yet. So good. It's basically essentially what I told you. There is an innkeeper named Kvothe, and he is telling his story to a chronicler, and so he tells a lot about the earlier days of his life in this one. Would this be a video from this year if I did not include anything Shadowhunters related? Probably not.
2019 is the year of the Shadowhunter.
So I have two books. There is Lady Midnight and The Red Scrolls of Magic. Both
Very
by
well
Cassandra
written
Clare,
books.
although this one has Wesley Chu in it. So this is the first book in the Dark Artifices series. It centers around Emma Carstairs and Julian Blackthorn, and in this particular book, Emma is still trying to get revenge, or to find out what happened to her parents. They were murdered, and so she wants revenge on whoever did that. And Julian, on the other hand, is basically just trying to keep his family together. And there are external forces at play that are making it very difficult for both these people to do the thing that they want.
On top of the fact that they
also
happen to have a forbidden love.
Because they're Parabatai and you're not supposed to fall in love with your Parabatai.
Bad things happen.
So great. This is one of the best Shadowhunter books, honestly, in my opinion. So good.
Very well written.
And then, in complete opposite, we have this romantic comedy romp that is the Red Scrolls of Magic.
That is also the greatest buddy cop comedy
so
written.
Delightful.
I love these guys.
It is Magnus and Alec when they are going around Europe after the events of the first trilogy. I have a lot of feelings.
I personally enjoyed the shift in tone. Interestingly enough, I love books even more when there's an extra flavor of another author writing alongside Cassandra Clare. Wesley Chu, I think, whatever he brought to this, because I know what Cassandra brings to her books after reading so many of them. It's in there. But when somebody else sort of adds their own fandom to it, which I think I've had this thinking theory that Cassandra Clare brings writers in who are fans of this series.
I think so too.
Right?
Like who genuinely love the characters.
Yeah, who genuinely loves them. The spin just becomes so beautiful, and I enjoyed this thoroughly. Like I thought,
I did too.
I didn't expect.
It was so.
I knew she would enjoy it more for sure. But
the ending made me cry.
Yeah, but this was.
Or at least Hero.
Yeah, so even if I was a little iffy about it being set where it was, sort of in between the 6 Mortal Instruments books.
It's actually very well done.
It's pretty good. I like it.
Like, you can read it in that order if you want. You could read it right after the first 3, but it's actually even more fun to read it after everything, because then you see all these other references that you.
Yeah, a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of nuances, and I think that's a lot of care. Good. So beautiful.
Clearly cheated. Okay. Next is best sequel you've read so far.
The best sequel is going to have to be, and are we surprised about my picks? Crooked Kingdom. You start with Six of Crows, you gotta end with Crooked Kingdom, because that's how they bring it home. The books that I like to read aren't usually duologies, but this particular duology is so well written, and it's really, really, really such a great way to end things. I highly appreciate, where there is no insta-love at all, anywhere near anything, anywhere. Zero. And I feel like Lee Bardugo is kind of like a no-nonsense person. So even the frivolity of, oh my god, I just saw you and I think you're my, there's none of that here. But there are relationships, very deep, deep relationships here of many, many kinds. Amidst all of the crazy hijinks and the robberies and the thieveries and the double crossings and the triple crossings, and it's a heist for love. Anyway, but that's just me and my ship. Highly recommend this. I am shipper trash of a certain caliber, and therefore dissatisfied the demon inside.
Guys, I didn't cheat in this question. There's only one answer. Only one answer, to be honest.
What's your favorite sequel?
My favorite sequel is actually a series finale, and I honestly am still shocked that this is my favorite sequel. City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare. Mic drop. This is literally a mic drop. That is what this book is. It concludes the arc that has been building since the first book, which is City of Bones. I was prepared, but I was also not prepared.
It ties together City of Bones. It ties together all of the Bane Chronicles. It ties together the Infernal Devices, and drops it. This is based. I think this is her Avengers Infinity War, because.
Yes, it could be.
Because this is the only time that we have absolutely everybody that's been anywhere, anything, all in one place, making Wicked Powers her
oh my god, we're going to die.
But that's just us theorizing.
Yes, so definitely my favorite sequel in the Shadowhunters world too that I've ever read. So good that it makes me want to cry. Okay, number 3 is a new release you haven't read yet but you want to.
So David Baldacci is part of my sort of go-to authors of just in life, I suppose. To me, he created the approachable assassin genre.
I always remember.
However, a book came out this year called Redemption. It is, I want to say the 4th, maybe the 5th, I don't know anymore, in the Memory Man series. So it's centered on Amos Decker, who suffered from an injury, I think a sports injury, that gave him savant syndrome, at least that's what Google says, where he basically remembers absolutely everything and sometimes associates them with colors. And so he never forgets a single thing. So his life went up and down and up and down. And so I don't even know what's happening to him anymore, and that's why I kind of want to know. The last time I checked in with Amos, we're friends, he's kind of back on the up and up. He's not homeless anymore. He's working for the police department because he's solved some really important crimes and stuff. And so whatever Redemption is, I just want to know, because that's what happens when you fall in love with characters. You just want, if something happens to them that gets written, you want to know what happens. So that's my deal, and I absolutely love David Baldacci in that sense.
The book that I'm choosing for this is The Winter of the Witch by Catherine Arden. This is the third book in the Winter Night trilogy. I also have not read the second book, but this is the book that came out this year. So the first book is called The Bear and the Nightingale, and it is inspired by Russian folklore. It has a main character named Vasha who is very dedicated to the old ways, respects a lot of the magic and the folklore that she's grown up with, and then she has a new stepmother come into her home who wants to basically get rid of all of that, and so it starts to cause a conflict, obviously. I really enjoyed the first book, and then I really want to read the second and finish it with this book. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year.
So, Angel Mage is coming out. Not shocked at all. It's Garth Nix. So happy to have the advanced reading copy. So it's sitting on my shelf. Hopefully by the time this video comes out, I would have read it already. But just right now, like I said in the previous video that you might have seen, I have not read the blurb of this thing. I just know that it's involving angelic magic. It's sort of like a YA piece, and it's Garth Nix, whom I've loved since like Sabriel. So pretty much literally every book that sort of comes out of him is like, yeah, sure, please give it to me. And then so very much anticipating what new world he's bringing us into for this one.
Okay, well, I have 2 answers for this. It's Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which is an adult story that involves cult and magic set at Yale, and The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black, which is the last book in the Folk of the Air series, because I just need to fucking know how Jude and Carden's story is going to end. Thank you very much. Okay, done.
There's a lot of venom there. I appreciate it so much.
Well, number 5 is Biggest Disappointment.
I would go straight to Dark Knight's Metal. It's the overarching DC, like, you know, big crossover event where evil Batman from the Shadow DC universe. Like, if there's 52 main timeline DC universes, apparently there's a Shadow, like, unmapped kind of terrible thing, and they're all from there, and they all want to just destroy things, and it's different Bruce Waynes subverting and killing different Justice League members in those universes and taking their powers. And then now they're all together forming some weird, evil, anti-justice Bat Metal League, whatever. Just see the fact that I'm explaining it. I'm either explaining that terribly in a explain the plot terribly kind of way, or I'm absolutely correct that it does sound that kind of kind of crazy. So that's the deal. I wanted so much more from it, and I didn't get it. It just didn't have that Flashpoint shine to it, or that Blackest Night kind of. You know what I mean? It didn't have that level of, or even that. I haven't read it fully yet, but I've known enough, or even that Crisis kind of.
Okay.
Deal to it. So but the designs are cool. I think Evil Batman are awesome, and the scariest things in the multiverse. Think Evil Batman is. They're the scariest thing in the multiverse, right? It just didn't land as well for me. Just me. Like it didn't have that Flashpoint sheen. So
I have 3 for this one. These are all books I've actually already talked about. So 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. It is a romance novel that has a trope that I love, which is the girl is in love with her brother's best friend. Did not work for me, did not like the main character, thought the story was like so-so, not a great read. And the other 2, it's not that I didn't end up finishing or liking some of it, it just, I had high expectations for both these books and they weren't necessarily lived up to. So first is Wicked Saints by Emily Duncan. I wanted to love this book so badly and I did not, because I don't know, something about the writing just did not work for me. And then Descendant of the Crane by Joan He, it was good, but it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, and I think I just had really high expectations for that one because I'm a sucker for a pretty cover, and that one has a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous cover.
Yeah.
Okay, 6, Biggest Surprise. Am I going first? Because
I am. So,
what? I'm just literally gonna
kill
throw
it,
out
babe.
there.
Do it.
Okay.
Do it.
See, the reason why I wanted to answer this question already is because I have been saying for years that I would read the rest of the Shadowhunters books, right?
Years.
Here's the thing. I knew I was going to enjoy them. I just did not expect to get as invested as I am in it now. Like, we live on Shadowhunters Garbage Island. That's literally it.
Just complete garbage.
Like it's
we were trash once, but thanks to Matthew
every
Fairchild,
conversation I have, somehow we always circle back to the Shadowhunters.
To the little gentleman's club.
It's crazy.
Like,
it's so good, though. It's so good. But that wasn't my only answer. The other book I want to quickly mention is Daisy Jones and the Six, which is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This basically chronicles the life of Daisy Jones and the band called the Six. And I didn't think I was going to love it as much as I did because it's told in, like, interview format, and it's about a rock band, and it's like sex, drugs, rock and roll. That's basically what this entire thing is about. But somehow Taylor Jenkins Reid convinced me that I cared so deeply for Daisy Jones and the Six, even with all of the shit that they go through in this book. So definitely a good surprise.
The thing I do want to shout out surprise-wise was the Teen Titan, but was Jeff Johns' Teen Titans run, and this is just me saying it's not the official way DC does it, but to me this is, I feel like, the third generation of the Titans. Generation 1 being, of course, Dick Grayson and Donna Troy, Wally West, that kind of deal. Generation 2 sort of being Beast Boy and Starfire and Cyborg and all those kids, and Generation 3, I want to say onwards, is Tim Drake's Robin, Cassie Sandsmark, who is the new Wonder Girl, Connor Kent, which is the Superboy at the time, not, and they were all misfits. They were all not endorsed by the actual sort of league, and were the random guys that were just like, you can't do this, and they're like, why are you here? And they're like, well, but we're gonna be Titans now. And it was such a huge surprise. I love that aspect of it, that they were, and there was even an arc in the Jeff Johns run where they had to meet future dystopian versions of themselves, and they have become like the worst of them. So I thought that was great. So to take that in that direction, you make the misfits go through that kind of arc is just beautiful.
Okay, number 7 is favorite new author, a debut author, or a new to you author.
Leigh Bardugo, easy.
I knew you were going to say that.
The way she crafts things, her world building, her character development, her characters, period, unforgettable, completely just gourmet, I find, and I love pretty much everything she's written so far.
Quick shout out to Casey McQuiston for writing this book, but also Margaret Rogerson, who wrote Sorcery of Thorns, which is the first book I read by her. So good. Such an excellent YA fantasy. Beautiful. But more about that later.
More about it later.
Okay, and next is 8, newest fictional crush. So remember how I just said we were going to talk more about Sorcery of Thorns, but we're about to do that right now. This is about the main character, Elizabeth. She wants to be an apprentice librarian because she has spent her entire life growing up in a library, in a great library. Great libraries in this story are the places where grimoires are stored, so like dangerous magic, and the librarians have to protect the patrons from the grimoires, but also the grimoires from the patrons. And so one night, Elizabeth is implicated in this murder that happens at the library she's living in, and taken to the capital so that she can be tried in front of everyone. And the person who takes her there is this sorcerer named Nathaniel, and together they uncover, like, there's this huge plot. But anyway, the reason why this is coming up with this question is because I love Nathaniel so much. Like, he is one of my new favorite fictional guy characters I have ever read about. He is just such a delight. Happily, 10 out of 10 would crush on him. But also, more importantly, Jem Carstairs. I love Jem
Formerly
Carstairs.
brother, once you go Zachariah, you'll never go Bacariah.
I love Jem Carstairs. I think he is such a
Couldn't
great
have
character.
Fooled me,
he
babe.
is exactly, like, he's not exactly my type. That's the funny part, because, like, if you really think about it, like, if anyone who knows me or anyone who's watched this channel long enough, then you guys know what my type is.
Yeah, they gotta be broody and, like, mean.
Or sometimes they're loud and brash.
And they have to be captains of the guard. Meanwhile, Jem is the
Jem
exact
is
opposite of all of that. He'll take a backseat to things. He's very quiet, very well,
and yet
sensitive.
And yet, he's the one I talk the most. Like, honestly, I feel like aside from Magnus and Alec, who are in the category all of their own, he is the person I talk the most about in the Shadowhunters world because I just love him. Generally, could ship myself with him. Like, I love Alec, but I do not ship myself with Alec. You know what I mean? Like,
she's still, because you ship him with Magnus.
Yes, I do. Meanwhile, Jem, I'm like, nah, sure you have your ship, sure, go for it. Meanwhile, I'm like, but I love him. So, what is it?
I love him, Mom! I love him! Any Leslie Jones fans? Anyway, I am. Number 8 is your fictional crush, and number 9 is your new favorite fictional character, right? I want to tie these two together because I am crushing on behalf of Matthew Fairchild is my number 9. He's my new favorite fictional character. I love Matthew Fairchild from the Shadowhunters series so much. And though nothing is confirmed, and many other things were confirmed in retrospect,
I'm going to die if they have.
I am crushing on behalf of Matthew Fairchild, on behalf of him, on Lucy Herondale. I need that ship to happen. Oh wait, no, it's happened already in my head, and I refuse to accept any other kind of headcanon. Nor do I deny everybody else's. No, you can have yours. This is all in my head anyway, and if it happens for me, wonderful, and if it doesn't, it already happened for me, like right here. It's awesome.
See, Mac and I are actively now, at the moment, like, working to accept the fact that we think, and this is just a theory.
This is a theory. This is not like nobody's confirmed this.
Matthew Fairchild is going to die.
I think so. I think he's going to come out, go out in a blaze of glory. But and you'll see more of this in like the snippets that Cassandra Clare throws out there, and even in the Ghost of the Shadow Market. Like
it just seems like that's where it's going.
And there's a kinship that he has with the Herondales, right? Especially first of all through James. But then that extends to the family. So how he treats Lucy, who is a writer, a budding writer, mind you, and just as much of a firebrand as her parents, I can't with that ship. I just cannot. And certainly the way Matthew treats her is just like, get rid of the ship! That's just...
Basically. Especially in Ghost of the Shadow Market.
And intensified because I didn't expect to appreciate Matthew so much. And then...
I love him.
And I've always loved Lucy from the start. What little was revealed of her and what that means, and so to have these two actually in the same room together just drives me insane. I'm like, oh god, please marry each other.
Do you like how we talked about Shadowhunters characters?
We're not even surprised.
Granted, if we were going to talk about favorite characters, I probably could have picked Shadowhunter characters for this question, but because I don't want to do that, because I would just say Jem Kirsten, like, really?
Yeah, it is.
There's like no...
It's almost a dead giveaway.
I want to talk about the gang in Red, White, and Royal Blue. So there's Alex, there's Henry, Alex is the president's son. Henry is the Prince of Wales. And then there's Alex's sister, June, and his best friend, Nora. And then Henry has a sister named Bea, and he also has a best friend named Pez. The 6 of them are an amazing group of friends, and I loved getting to know them all in this story so damn much. But also, gotta give a shout out to Lazo Strange and Sarai in the Strange to the Draper duology by Laini Taylor. Lazo is so fascinated with the city that no one can remember the name of, and everyone just calls Weep. And he has spent his entire life just looking for tidbits about it, trying to build a picture of it, and one day he gets an invitation to actually go to the city of Weep. And so he goes to the city of Weep. Meanwhile, Sarai has a very complicated history. Not going to spoil it for anyone, but let's just say that they're very interesting characters, and then when they finally interact at some point, it's great. Number 10 is a book that made you cry.
So these are the books that made us cry, and we're just gonna lift them up to just sort of reveal. Like, that's just...
Shock! It's Shadowhunters.
What a shock. The minute I realized, I think it was late at night the one time we were reading in bed, and I just realized, oh my god, we're garbage. We're not just trash anymore.
No, see.
We're complete and absolute garbage.
I will link you to my Shadowhunters vlog, but you guys actually see me talking
sobbing
after
hysterically.
I cry over the thing I cry. And here's the thing, I have read that like that entire thing more than 10 times at this point, like that entire moment more than 10, and every single damn time it is still the same response. I'm like,
I have the exact same response to the thing that I cry about.
I also, this one, I was so smug because I was like, this book hasn't made me cry yet. It was like 5 stories in, 6.
And I already told her it's gonna be insane.
And then I get to this story and I'm just like
sobbing hysterically because it's just like I said, we have graduated to a new, like, it's like trashes and dumpsters, garbage is garbage
is the new trash.
Garbage is the new trash, and that's on islands, okay? So that's like, there's an island of garbage, just all anyway.
Okay. 11 is a book that made you happy.
I want to give a shout out to Stormrise by Julie Boehm. Love Stormrise. The blurb on this thing is that, like, Tamara Pierce couldn't put it down, and she finished it in like one sitting. Totally understand. It delivered, which is always great when you expect something of a book. Not that you should expect too much, but it absolutely delivered every expectation. I think it was great, and that I got to be able to speak to the author and sort of say this is awesome and it's cool, and she commented, and I thought that just adds to the extra happy. So this is lots of good memories and happy things for this one.
Because I'm a cheater, and because I've already mentioned them before, we're just going to quickly talk about the fact that Red, White, and Royal Blue definitely made me happy.
Those are happy tears, mind you.
Yes. I was going to say, I should have prefaced the whole crying thing with it being actual happy tears.
Well, context, and now here we are.
Yes. And a book that I just read that I really want to give a shout out to because it made me feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside, and like I was just like, please, a sponge the entire time I was reading it. Well Met by Jen DeLuca. This is a contemporary romance that has the backdrop of the Ren Fair in it. And first of all, I have never gone to a Ren Fair in my life, but I would really like to. Second of all, the sheer amount of like moments in this book that made me like squee. A+. Cannot even get over it. I'm still like pleased as much as I finally got to read it. It was so good. It was so good. 12 is a favorite book to film adaptation you saw this year. So I only can think of one. And it's Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett.
It's great. I mean, it's
First of all, we're David Tennant fans in this house.
Yes. Apart from this being the House Lightwood Bane, this is also House Tennant. So really, really awesome. And for some people, you know, maybe who want something new, okay, yeah, we'll give you that. It's a little too faithful to the book if you're leaning towards there, but I like it faithful to the book.
It was good.
And so it's pretty good.
Number 13 is your favorite review you've written so far this year, or your favorite video you've done so far this year. And we actually have the same answer.
Yeah, we like the new Fandom Buzz video because
Fandom Buzz is so much fun to film.
It's super awesome that we also just sort of happen to have tea on the side, just to make it. But it's nice to sort of just be able to talk about the things that we love and sort of buzz about it, right? And
sort of buzz about it.
Assuming we don't get a tea box in the mail soon, the next one's gonna involve actual alcohol, so that's gonna be fun.
Number 14 is the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. Easily the Waterstones Ruined edition of the Red Scrolls of Magic.
That's the Malik rune, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
There you go.
And it's red.
Did you hear that? Yeah, it is.
I love it so much. I'm excited to see what they do with the other 2 books in the series. It's going to be so cool, I'm sure.
And lastly,
the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? How about all of them? Is that an acceptable answer?
All is an extremely acceptable answer, but realistically speaking, I'm going to go with mine. This has been sitting on my shelf since my first BA ever, which is where I got it. This is The Magicians by Lev Grossman. At the very least, book 1. And I'm caught up on the TV series. It ended pretty harrowing, or like it always does, but I just need to know what the source material actually is. And so I gotta get me some more of this. And so hopefully by the end of the year, I would have read this, at the very least. So
I have The Wise Man's Fear, which is the sequel to The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, which I definitely want to read.
Very nice.
A book that my sister has been trying to get me to read for like almost a year. Subtle Art of Not Giving Up.
Yeah.
By Mark Manson, which is nonfiction, which is not something I normally read. So that is why this one is on my TBR. And last but not least, Cersei by Madeline Miller, because why wouldn't I want to read about Cersei? Anyway, those are all the questions for the mid-year book freakout tag. We hope you enjoyed
2019 edition!
And seeing our answers. If you have read or want to read any of the books in the video, we'd love to know. Especially, I want to know what you think about like the TBR books that we've still got going on for us, like The Magicians and the 3 books that I just talked about. And hey, if you're Shadowhunters garbage too, well, welcome to the club. To me.
To us.
I know, I still act like I'm new to it, but really it's been like, what, 3 months since
It's pretty new.
Yeah, I'm a baby Shadowhunters garbage. Like, I literally went I didn't even go through trash level. I just went straight into garbage land.
I was there for a while, and then it was a steep downhill until it's the little Shadowhunters Gentlemen's Club at the little bar thing led by Matthew and James.
Oh, God.
That's what did me in. I swear to it started with Jules and Emma, and then it just sort of like, yeah, right, they're grown-ups and it's terrible teen angst, and Emma Carstairs is a badass and so is Julian Blackthorne, blah blah blah, and then suddenly Matthew Fairchild, James Herondale, Lucy, and then everybody else, Anna, who is just
amazing. Anna is like
that entire that last hour's generation is insane, and so
anyway, that was a side segue. This is what's going to happen forever, apparently. Anyway, we hope you guys will tune in for another video soon. Bye!